So let me talk to you about this Moxa box. Moxabox, to start with, is a part of traditional Chinese medicine and is really used throughout Asia, in most Asian countries. It's been used for over 2,500 years, and one of the earliest records is about 500 before Christ. And you've gone through most literature in the second half of the 1900s and counted about 350 different types of disease can be treated and cured with moxabox. This moxabox can be handy for you yourself in your home, or if you're working as a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, acupuncturist, or even massage therapist. Moxabox can be used very easily, and you don't need all the theory behind it for some of the simple treatments that I'm going to speak to you about. The Moxa we use in this comes in this form, and it's very large, as you can see. Compared to a regular Moxa stick, it's I don't know how many times bigger, but a fair bit. So when you cut this, because you'll need to cut it for the box, you might need to use some sort of maybe a Japanese saw or like a bread knife with some teeth on it, because obviously scissors aren't going to do it. This one's fine. You can use maybe a PVC pipe cutter, it's quite easy, or a bread knife. This works well. Even if you just make a little cut in it first and then break the rest of it off, just to break the piece off. So it's quite easy. This one's obviously a little bit thicker and it's very compressed and hard. And I think they're really pretty because they have like an old traditional type of paper from China made from like a wood fiber, and it's really beautiful and hand rolled. And the moxa is actually, in this moxa sticks, is wild grown and harvested by hand and rolled by hand into these nice rolls, and it's grown on a really high altitude. So moxa, when they have examined the compounds, chemical compounds of it, they found over 60 different compounds. So it's quite a complex herb, has a lot in it, and they don't understand everything yet about it. What's important with moxa, depending on where it grows, and this is obviously with most plants, it will have different nutritional value, different compounds in it. So it means that moxa from a certain region can be more or less beneficial for you. This one is grown at a certain very high altitude, and it also in a mountain range where there's a lot of minerals and nutrients in the soil, so it will affect the quality of the moxa. It will also affect the smoke that comes out of it, that meaning the smell, because it's like burning an incense, so there will be a smell. And probably one of the largest or biggest issues, or the reason why moxa isn't used so widely in the West, is probably the smoke that comes out. Now, this is really depending on quality of the moxa. If you go and buy the cheap moxa, which is maybe 10 sticks for $10, that will not have a pleasant smell. That's just how it is. So the better quality, you'll get a really fine and thin and light color smoke, and it will actually have a pleasant smell. And there's not going to be a problem with that. So let me show you a bit how the box looks. It comes like this. It's made in China. It's quite large, so I think it's mainly for adults, okay? This is the strap. Go around your waist. And what's the actual function of moxa? Well, it's basically a warming, nourishing effect. They say it warms the yang. It will increase your yang that way, your yang energy, increase your qi, and will nourish your blood. It can dredge your meridians, meaning there can be blockages in the meridians that prevent the free flow of qi, which can cause pain and a lot of other symptoms. So basically what we want is a free flow of qi everywhere all day long. It can also really help with what they call in Chinese medicine transforming phlegm and eliminating wind. So some of these terms are foreign for Westerners, but I'd like to think of it that it's just a different language, because it's like when you speak English or Spanish, you know, it's not the same word for the same thing. It doesn't mean one is more correct or one is more scientific. So the Chinese like to describe health and the human body as a whole, as a part of the universe affected by our surrounding environment. So a lot of the terms will be in climate terms, like wind, damp, cold, heat, and so on. It's just a way of categorizing the body in a different way. So there's no mystery about it. This has a filter in it. So remember I talked about the smoke? This has a filter here, carbon filter in here. It doesn't eliminate all the smoke, I'm not going to promise that, but it sort of takes the smokiness out, if you know what I mean, but there will still be some smell, and it will definitely decrease the smell and smoke a lot. And you can vary this. This is also really a heat regulator. So because it can get really hot, and depending on you and how strong you are and so on, you want different heat. It's opened like this. And in here we've got 5 sticks, 5 pointy metal needles. So basically, technically, these small ones are for the smaller version. This larger one works better on this. Okay. So this also, once it's on here, can be also screwed and have a different heights on it, so that you can regulate the heat. If you screw here, it's the black one. Okay. Then it comes up and down. So let me just show you once.
You better say the book first. So
I would put it on first. Otherwise, you know, you can heat it first, but it gets hot. So now it takes a little while to heat. And how do you know when it's fully lit? Well, this is awkward. It needs a lot of heat to get hot, and it needs a lot of heat to get started. So what I do is I blow on it, and once the whole surface is orange or, you know, glowing, you can see a glow there, then it's ready. Okay. So you keep checking it, keep heating it, and so on. It will take a little while. Okay. So let's say this is lit now. You blow on it and you make sure it's all fully lit. What you do, you place it in here, and this, by the way, has at the bottom a netting or a wire mesh which will collect the ash, and obviously you don't want the ash falling on you when you're laying there. That's one of the sort of downsides too when you're using this kind of stick and just going over the meridians. The ash, you constantly have to get rid of the ash so it doesn't burn your patient or yourself. So this is very, you know, not very labor intensive, because it will not be able to fall on your body. So that's a great feature. In the beginning, I think it's good to keep the vents open so it gets going, you know, otherwise it can, in the beginning, a bit sensitive, can suffocate if it doesn't get enough oxygen. So keep it open. Then as you go, if you think it's too hot, you can shut them, lower the burning rate, and you can also screw here to make it go up higher. So the strap comes like this. You touch that here. And I would recommend, like, if you have a chronic case of, let's say, indigestion or stomach issues, you know, problem with your stomach, IBS, whatever, you name it, diarrhea, constipation, and it's chronic, you know, give it 3 to 6 months. Maybe you could do the treatment twice or 3 times per week. So this is how the strap looks, and you can strap it around your waist like this and attach it here. Okay. So I'll show you a couple of places on this man where you can work and you can use it in the most beneficial ways for you. I just started talking about stomach problems. So basically this area is really good if you get the whole box around this. So there's a point here called REN 12, which is really important. There are 2 points here on each side of the belly button. So there are like 2 finger widths from the belly button, and it's called stomach 25. They're very important for the large intestine point. They're on the stomach meridian, which runs through here. You also have the spleen meridian come through here, and the kidney meridian. So a lot of meridians that will affect your digestion is here, and you can affect it, and it will help with peeing and cramps and so on. Another really important point with Moxa, it really helps, strengthen your chi. What does that mean? It means you're gonna have more energy, less fatigue, and so on. Easier to get up in the morning. If you have that kind of issue, like a chronic fatigue, you can place it under your belly button more. There's a point called REN 4. So it's about 3 finger widths down below the belly button, and then there's REN 6 above it, which is about 1.5 finger widths below the belly button. And you use your own fingers, obviously, because they're adapted to your body, so the measurement will be within your times. Those 2 points are really important. Affects a lot of organs, a lot of meridian systems in the body, not just the stomach. And a lot of meridians meet here, and it will help with chronic fatigue and so on. And again, that will be a longer process, maybe 6 months regularly you'll need. And the way it nourishes the body is through partially the heat that actually comes out of it. But it's not only the heat, sometimes it's mistaken as a heat treatment. But I can tell you, if you heat a water bottle or a weight bag and place it on the same point for half an hour to an hour, it will not have the same effect as the Moxa has. There are a lot of compounds in Moxa, and that will really help on a different, many levels in your body. So fatigue was under here, below the belly button. Another thing that is really spreading now and really common, especially where I am, is infertility. And this is both women and men. And this is a really handy tool for this. You can place it so pretty far down again, because this is obviously the region, a local placement of Moxa, local treatment for fertility. And once you've done one sequence here, so once this is lit, it will burn for about 1 hour, which is a great amount of time for Moxa. And imagine if you had to use the stick and go by hand for 1 hour. I don't think it's very feasible, and it's just too labor intense. This way is indirect Moxa, and it does it for you for about 60 minutes. And once you've done the front, turn around and put it here, pretty far down again. And this will be good, obviously, if you're a couple, both men and women need to do it, okay, for maybe a longer time. Same when you're working, if you have period cramps and so on. It's really important that you do the treatment a week before your period, and for a minimum of 3 cycles. And the placement then will also be here, below the belly button, about 3 finger widths down. Another way you can use it if you have sciatica, which is quite common. That again will be down here, and it really affects, these are points here are really effective for the legs. Go down on the urinary bladder meridian, go down through the leg, and affects the whole back as well, and the hip area. And you can move it across to the hip if you have more of a pain. Sometimes the sciatica can come in between the urinary bladder and gallbladder meridian. It's not always exactly on the path, and you can have it a bit to the side, and this will work well. And as well as if you come up here on the kidney point, the Ming Men point here, you can do for fatigue, and it's just a really good longevity treatment as well. In China, Moxa is not only used when you're sick, it's a really good help maintaining longevity treatment, and you can treat yourself with that all through your life, and especially during winter, but all year round is okay. And if you have several of these, you can place along the spine, maybe 2 or 3 depending on how tall you are, and do the whole due meridian to really boost your yang energy in your body, which is also great if you're freezing all the time and you're cold and you poor circulation and so on. So if you're a practitioner, it can also be really great for your patient to bring this home, and in between treatment they can do it on themselves, and it will really facilitate their healing, and your treatments will work better as well, so you can cooperate there. The smoke that comes, also when you breathe it, it has a strengthening effect on the immune system, so you don't need to be scared of it. In China they use it in the hospital, the traditional Chinese hospitals. They clean the air. There are some studies, you can go on Google Scholar and PubMed and so on. There are studies what the smoke does, and it actually purifies the air better than ultraviolet light, for instance. Now that doesn't really mean that you should sit and sniff it right under your nose, because it's still obviously a type of smoke. So I hope you enjoyed learning about this tool, and I wish you good luck, and I'll see you next time.